Most communication problems don't start with words. They start with a nervous system that's already activated. This year's most powerful communication lesson is simple but uncomfortable. If you don't regulate yourself first, you will always say too much, explain too much, or react too fast. And the moment you do that, you give away control. Before you speak, your body speaks. Your tone, your pace, your posture, they all communicate before your words ever arrive. The best communicators understand this. They slow their breathing. They ground themselves. They don't rush to respond just to fill space. They create calm first, then they speak. Calm is persuasive, not loudness, not intensity, not clever comebacks. When you stay calm, people lean in. When you rush, people push back. Calm doesn't mean passive, it means intentional. It tells the other person, I'm not threatened, and I'm not chasing approval. Another major lesson this year is that boundaries outperform explanations every single time. Most people over-explain because they want to be understood, but explanations invite debate. Boundaries end it. You don't need to convince someone why your boundary makes sense. You only need to communicate what you will or will not participate in. Short, clear, neutral. The more emotional your explanation, the weaker your position becomes. Silence has also emerged as one of the most misunderstood, yet powerful communication tools. Silence isn't awkward when you're confident. It's only awkward when you think you owe someone a response. Silence slows conversations down. It removes emotional momentum. It forces the other person to reveal more than they planned. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every question deserves an answer. Choosing silence is not avoidance, it's strategy. Another key lesson is that tone teaches people how to treat you. You can say the right words with the wrong tone and still lose respect. Or you can say very little with a steady tone and gain authority instantly. When pressure rises, most people let their tone drift. It speeds up. It sharpens. It becomes defensive. The best communicators do the opposite. They lower their voice. They slow down. They create contrast. That contrast gives their words weight. And finally, one of the most important lessons of the year, you don't need to win conversations. You need to leave them with your self-respect intact. Winning an argument can still cost you your peace. Control isn't about domination. It's about direction. Knowing when to speak. Knowing when to pause. Knowing when to walk away without needing the last word. The best communication advice of the year isn't flashy. It's grounded. It's calm. It's disciplined. It reminds us that power isn't announced, it's felt. Regulate first. Speak less, but with purpose. Set boundaries without apology. Use silence intentionally, and let your calm train the room. That's not just good communication. That's leadership, one conversation at a time. Control your nervous system before you control the conversation, because every word you speak is shaped by the state of your body first. Long before logic kicks in, your nervous system decides whether you will react, freeze, explain, attack, or stay composed. Most communication failures don't come from a lack of intelligence or vocabulary. They come from a body that feels threatened and is trying to protect itself. When your nervous system is activated, your thinking narrows, your tone sharpens, your speech speeds up, you interrupt more, you explain more, you defend more. Even if your words are technically correct, the way they land feels unstable. People sense this immediately. They may not know why the conversation feels off, but they feel a tension, and they respond to it. This is why controlling the conversation without controlling your nervous system never works. You may plan what to say, rehearse the perfect response, or memorize techniques, but once stress hits, your body takes over. The goal is to suppress emotion. The goal is to regulate it. Regulation starts with awareness. You must notice the early signs of activation. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, a faster heart rate, an urge to speak quickly or fill silence. These are signals that your nervous system is shifting into defense. If you ignore them, your words will carry that tension forward. Slowing your body down slows your thoughts. A deeper breath, a longer pause, a relaxed jaw. These small adjustments send a signal to your brain that you are safe. When the body feels safer, the mind becomes clearer. You regain access to choice. Pauses are powerful because they interrupt automatic reactions. Most people fear pauses because they think silence looks weak or uncertain. In reality, pauses create space. They allow your nervous system to settle before you respond. This space is where control lies. Your tone is one of the clearest indicators of nervous system regulation. When you are regulated, your voice stays steady. When you are not, it rises, tightens, or speeds up. You don't need to force a calm tone. You create it by calming your body first. Another key element is posture. An upright but relaxed posture communicates stability to your nervous system. Slouching or rigid tension signals threat. Simple physical alignment can shift your internal state more than mental effort alone. When you regulate yourself first, you stop chasing the conversation. You stop trying to win, prove, or protect. You become more selective. You speak less, but with more impact. You listen more clearly. You notice what matters and what does. Regulation also protects you from manipulation. When someone tries to provoke you, their goal is often to trigger an emotional reaction. If your nervous system stays regulated, their strategy fails. You are no longer pulled into their frame. This skill becomes even more important in high-stakes conversations. Conflict, criticism, pressure, or authority can all activate the nervous system. Without regulation, even confident people can lose composure. With regulation, even difficult conversations become manageable. It's important to understand that regulation doesn't mean detachment. You can care deeply and still remain regulated. In fact, regulation allows you to care without losing clarity. It allows empathy without self-abandonment. Practicing regulation outside of conversations makes it easier inside them. Regular breathing exercises, movement, and stress management train your nervous system to recover faster. Over time, regulation becomes your default rather than your exception. When you control your nervous system, you also change how others experience you. People feel calmer around you. Conversations slow down. Tension decreases. Your presence becomes stabilizing. This is influence without effort. Control in conversation is not about dominance. It's about direction. Regulation allows you to choose where the conversation goes instead of being dragged by emotional currents. In the end, the most powerful communicators aren't the most articulate. They are the most regulated. They don't rush. They don't overreact. They don't leak tension into the room. They create space, clarity, and calm. Control your nervous system first, and the conversation will follow. When your body is steady, your words become deliberate, your tone becomes grounded, and your presence does the heavy lifting. That is how real control is built quietly, internally, and consistently. Calm is more persuasive than cleverness, because people don't respond to intelligence alone. They respond to emotional signals first. You can have the sharpest logic, the quickest wit, and the most impressive arguments, but if they're delivered with tension, urgency, or defensiveness, they lose their impact. Calm changes how your words are received before the listener even processes their meaning. Cleverness often seeks to impress. Calm seeks to connect. When someone is calm, they are perceived as confident, grounded, and trustworthy. Their words feel deliberate rather than reactive. This sense of stability makes others more open, more receptive, and less defensive. Calm creates safety, and safety is where persuasion begins. In moments of pressure, many people lean on cleverness as a shield. They talk faster. They use more words. They try to outthink or outmaneuver the other person. This usually backfires. Speed and sharpness can feel aggressive, even when the intention is to clarify. Calm, by contrast, slows the interaction down. It reduces emotional noise and allows meaning to surface. Calm also communicates self-assurance without the need for validation. Cleverness often looks like performance trying to win approval or dominance. Calm doesn't need applause, it stands on its own. This quiet confidence signals that you are not threatened, and that signal carries more weight than any clever remark. Another reason calm is persuasive is that it regulates the entire room. Emotions are contagious. When one person stays steady, others often follow. Calm acts as an anchor. It stabilizes conversations that might otherwise escalate. Cleverness can entertain, but calm influences. Calm also makes your message easier to hear. When people feel attacked or overwhelmed, they stop listening. Clever arguments delivered with tension can trigger defensiveness. Calm delivery lowers those defenses. It invites dialogue rather than resistance. There is also clarity in calm. When you are calm, your thoughts are organized. You choose your words carefully. You don't say everything, you say what matters. This precision makes your message more persuasive than long explanations or clever detours. Calm gives you control over pacing. You can pause. You can let silence do some of the work. These pauses add weight to your words. Cleverness often rushes to fill space. Calm understands that silence can be more convincing than speech. People also associate calm with authority. Leaders who remain composed under pressure earn respect. They don't need to prove their intelligence. Their restraint signals experience and confidence. Cleverness without calm can feel insecure. Calm without cleverness still commands attention. Calm allows you to respond rather than react. Reaction is fast and emotional. Response is slow and intentional. Persuasion lives in response, not reaction. When you respond calmly, you shape the conversation instead of being pulled into it. Calm is especially powerful in conflict. When emotions run high, cleverness can sound like sarcasm or condescension. Calm disarms. It changes the emotional temperature. It makes escalation harder and resolution more likely. Another advantage of calm is consistency. Cleverness varies depending on energy, mood, or pressure. Calm can be practiced and maintained. It becomes a reliable trait rather than a performance. Calm also protects you. Clever comebacks can feel satisfying in the moment, but often lead to regret or damaged relationships. Calm responses preserve dignity and long-term credibility. In professional settings, calm increases influence. People trust decisions delivered calmly more than those delivered with urgency or clever persuasion tactics. Calm suggests thoughtfulness and stability. In personal relationships, calm fosters connection. It allows difficult topics to be discussed without emotional harm. Cleverness might win an argument, but calm preserves the relationship. It's important to understand that calm doesn't mean passive or weak. Calm can be firm. Calm can be direct. Calm can hold boundaries without hostility. In fact, calm firmness is one of the most persuasive combinations there is. Cleverness fades. Calm endures. People may forget the exact words you used, but they remember how you made them feel. Calm leaves a lasting impression of safety, confidence, and respect. In the end, persuasion is not about outsmarting others. It's about influencing how they feel. Calm creates openness. It invites trust. It lowers resistance. And when resistance drops, persuasion becomes natural. Calm is more persuasive than cleverness because it speaks to the nervous system, not just the intellect. When you lead with calm, your words land deeper, last longer, and move people without force. Boundaries speak louder than explanations because behavior teaches faster than words ever could. Explanations rely on the hope that someone will understand, agree, or care. Boundaries remove that uncertainty. They don't ask for permission or validation. They simply define what will and will not happen, and that clarity carries more weight than any justification. Most people over-explain because they want to be seen as reasonable. They want to avoid conflict or being misunderstood. But explanations often backfire. The more you explain, the more material you give others to debate, dismiss, or manipulate. A boundary, by contrast, closes the discussion instead of expanding it. Explanations invite negotiation. Boundaries set conditions. When you explain, you are opening the door to arguments and counter-arguments. When you set a boundary, you are stating a limit. Limits are not meant to be convincing, they are meant to be clear. Boundaries also communicate self-respect. They signal that you value your time, energy, and emotional well-being. People may not like boundaries, but they understand them. Over time, boundaries earn more respect